Good morning, students. I welcome you to the third part of development in economics. As you have seen earlier in the previous two classes, we have studied development, development and developmental goals, conflicting goals, income and other goals, and today we shall learn about public facilities and development. We have compared countries and seen the UNDP and World Bank's comparison. We shall go over it today once again, and we shall talk about sustainable development. So while we spoke about the World Bank and the UNDP comparison last time, we are just going to go over it quickly so that we can remember and recall what we have learned. So we'll do the World Bank first, that it compares countries only on the basis of income. It classifies countries of the world under three categories, as we saw last time. Which were the three categories? The rich and the developed countries, the middle income countries, and the developing countries or the underdeveloped countries. The middle income countries were your developing ones, but the last one was your underdeveloped countries. Then the World Bank publishes the World Development Report. It considers only the economic perspective while comparing, and it is applicable to all the countries of the world. However, the UNDP compares basically not only the income but also health and the educational status. So they are looking more at an overall development, your holistic development. The UNDP does not categorize countries, instead it gives a rank to every country. It publishes the Human Developmental Report. It is multidimensional as it considers different aspects of sustainable human development, and it is applicable only to the member countries of the UNDP. So this was a basic difference. We need not copy it in the notebooks. We can refer to this visual and try and take an oral recall based on the previous video as well. Now this needs to go in the notebooks. The criterion used by the UNDP to compare countries for development. This you need to copy in the notebook, children. The first one, as we all know, is our per capita income. The second criterion being life expectancy at birth. Life expectancy at birth, where the span of the life of a newborn can be expected at the time of his or her birth. So most of these definitions like life expectancy, infant mortality, they're given in your textbook, in those tables. Infant mortality, the number of children dying before the completion of 1 year of age out of 1,000 live births in a particular year is called infant mortality rate. Don't forget to mention in a particular year. Literacy rate, the number of people that can't read and write the number of people who can read and write against per 100 people within the age group of 7 years and above. So I kept it on for you to be able to copy it. In any case, if you haven't finished copying, you can replay the video. The next criterion is your net attendance ratio. which is the number of children attending school against 100 children within the age group of 14 and 15 years who stay at home. Gross enrollment ratio, the percentage of children in the age group of 6 to 14 years attending school. Body mass index, this is a very interesting thing, the BMI. It is an index that expresses the nutritional status of a person. It is calculated by dividing the weight of a person in kgs by the square of the height in meters. If the result is more than 25, then the person will be considered as overnourished, and below 18.5 indicates undernourishment. So while you have written BMI, on page 13 in your textbook, there is this activity on BMI, activity 3. And I would encourage all of you, or rather want all of you, to take a quarter chart paper or an A4 sheet of any color of your choice and find out the BMI of 3 adults. Mind you, the BMI is not found out of growing children or an adolescents. So you will find out the BMI of 3 adults. You can do it at home. You are at home. Most of the adults are still at home. What do you have to do? The nutritional status of the person has to be found out. So you will find the weight of the person in kgs and divide it by the square of the height in meters. Google Baba will tell you how to convert the height from feet to meters if you do not yet know it. Otherwise, we are adding math to our curriculum, making you count. And if your result is more than 25, so you will show the calculation. So for example, you were doing it for your mother. You will write your person 1, mother. If you have the resources, feel free to stick an image of the person. Otherwise, you may draw or you may leave it blank. That's up to you. If you wish, you may integrate art into your BMI activity. Doing it horizontal or vertical is also up to you. So you will do this for the first person. Then you will write the weight in kgs of the person. You will write the height in meters. You will divide the weight by the height in meters square. Then you will show the calculation and show the result, exact result. Then you will show your conclusion per person. So person 1, mother, and if it was 18.5 undernourished or 20 is healthy, 25 and above is overnourished. So you will show it there, and like that you will do it for 3 individual people. Mind you, the conclusion for all the 3 is very, very important. Now, when we use per capita income as a criterion for development, last time too we had discussed this, it has a very big limitation. Per capita income is your average income. And if there is unequal distribution of income in the economy, even a higher per capita income may not lead to development. If you remember and are able to recall, in the previous video, I had shown you the calculation of the country A and country B and how both the countries had a population of 5 people earning different amounts of money, income. And we realized that the country where there is an equitable distribution of income is where we would like to be. So per capita income in fact hides disparities is the basic limitation that we had seen. Another thing is income alone is not sufficient for a person's welfare. We may be earning crores of rupees, but that's not enough. Are those crores of rupees going to give us safety and security, or good health, good education, equal treatment, respect? Are they meeting our goals? So there may not be development even in countries where the income is high. So you come across two questions that we have previously discussed. One is your goals, different people having different goals. The second question, money in your pocket cannot buy everything. So that is also once again answered here. And the third question that gets answered here is limitation using per capita income as a criterion for development. I would like you to copy this screen in the notebook, simply because they lend themselves to 3-mark answers and you are bright children. Now in our textbook, in the latest edition of the textbook, they have given us these states for comparison: Haryana, Kerala and Bihar. They have given us the per capita income, the infant mortality rate, the literacy rate and the net attendance ratio. Haryana, Kerala and Bihar. So if you have your textbook open, good for you. If you don't, then I have given you the figures from the latest edition of the textbook. In case if you are using an older version, please correct the figures in the textbook and correct the names of the states as well. Now, what is the analysis of the previous chart or the previous table? If we consider only the per capita income, we will conclude that Haryana is the most developed among the 3 states. However, if we consider the other criterion like life expectancy, literacy rate, net attendance ratio also, we will conclude that Kerala is the most developed among the 3 states. Now this conclusion you must have with you when you are having the table in front of you. So either with the table you write the conclusion, or you write this conclusion with reference to that table in your notebook. I leave that option open to you. It's okay with me if it's done in the textbook as well with the table. And if I mistake not, we are on page 10. Now we come to public facilities, where once again on page 11 in your textbook, we are talking about the same question. Money in your pocket cannot buy all the goods and services that you may need to live well. And so they tell you the facilities are arranged by a group of people or by the government. And the government is your person who, or the government is the body who is going to give you public facilities. And the government does this for the collective good of the people. Therefore, it is called public facilities. If any private individual, you and I, are doing facilities, they are for ourselves, they will not be public facilities. So if the government is giving you hospitals, schools, roads, railways, communication services, power generation, distribution, etc., they are your public facilities. Right now, in the times of the COVID pandemic, the government is providing hospitals. They're providing treatment to the COVID patients. And it's all over the country. So public facilities, public treatment, public health, all of those gained priority. Now, if you look at page 11 in your textbook, money cannot buy you a pollution-free environment. It cannot buy you unadulterated medicines. Money cannot protect you from infectious diseases. But the cheapest way to protect yourself throughout is to enjoy public facilities. Now, what role do public facilities play in development? Public facilities are important for development because most of the basic human needs like education, transport, healthcare are satisfied through public facilities. Imagine not having any transport. How will we reach school? If not today, tomorrow school will definitely open. Or how will we reach our examination centers? Or how will mom and dad go to office? Or if there were no healthcare centers, how would we be treated for any ill health? And if there was no education, if there was no Diksha app, no video, no YouTube, no teachers teaching online, none of the other videos coming onto it, none of the other apps providing education, then how would you gain it? So public facilities are very, very important human needs in today's date. Public arrangement of facilities reduces the cost of living of the people to a large extent. So if we had to take a bus or we had to hire a car and go to work, it would be very, very difficult. But because there is a BST bus, today we can hop onto a BST bus, the cost of traveling becomes very less. It is shared by all the people traveling in the bus. Similarly, people traveling by local train have to pay less money because they are traveling together as a whole. Public facilities are the basis for development, which enables the people to earn by creating employment, providing infrastructure like transport, banking, insurance, safety, security, etc. It reduces the gap between the rich and poor. Everybody sits in the same bus or the same train. It helps in the conservation of resources. Imagine every individual coming out on the road in their own vehicle. How much of a nuisance would that be? This brings us to sustainable development, but before that, I would like you to do Let's Work These Out and Activity 2 on page 12 in your textbook itself. I repeat, let's work these out and activity 2 on page 12 of your textbook itself. The BMI activity I have given you to do on a A4 of any color or of quarter, 1/4 of a chart paper or an art sheet, half art sheet, and stick in your notebook. Table 1.6, I want you to do from page 13 of your textbook in the textbook itself. Table 1.6 on page 13 to be done in the textbook itself. So we come to this most important topic of sustainable development. Now we have studied this topic in geography, chapter 1. Resources and development, where we did conclude that when you are conserving resources for the future generation and using them judiciously, it is called sustainable development. So development that takes place in the present giving due attention to the conservation of resources for future use and the protection of the environment from pollution or degradation, is called sustainable development. As your textbook quotes, and I quote, "We have not inherited the world from our forefathers, we have borrowed it from our children." Role of sustainability in development. Development without sustainability is meaningless. If today's development leads to destruction in future, there's no real development. In the last few decades, so not only today but in tens and twenties of years, the issue of sustainability of development is becoming very, very significant, to the extent that even at the United Nations, representatives of countries have been discussing this issue of sustainable development. Many scientists, economists, philosophers, and socially concerned people are criticizing development as non-sustainable. Why? Because the present ways of excessive exploitation will lead to extinction. Many valuable resources from the earth will be extinct very, very soon. And your example is of crude oil, which is given on page 15 of your textbook, which is example 2. Many developmental programs lead to restriction of natural processes, which in turn results into lots of evils due to the environment and ecosystem. For example, construction of big dams, we have discussed it earlier also, people will be displaced. Some industries and activities lead to pollute the air, water, land, chemical fertilizers, depletion of flora, fauna. This again leads to destruction in the environment, and it calls for attention for sustainability. Some developments may lead to change in the style of living of the people, which in turn may result in the emergence of new types of diseases. Health hazards caused by radiation from the mobile phone is an example of this. Stock of resources is limited, but our needs are unlimited. This slide needs to be copied in your notebook. Now, before we come to this, on page 14, there is example 1 in sustainability for groundwater in India. And they have two questions there with the passage. Why is groundwater overused? And can there be development without its overuse? So I need you to read that passage, and you can probably mark the answers there, or feel free to even write the answers next to those two questions in your textbook. And when you do example 2 on page 15, exhaustion of natural resources, which is your crude oil example, there are again two questions there which need to be answered in the textbook itself. There is a YouTube link here for a video for you to watch. So after class, feel free to watch the video for a better understanding and recall of the entire chapter. I have two MCQ links from the Diksha app. They're small MCQs. Do play it like a game and feel good about yourself knowing everything. Be honest, you're good children after all. From the textual questions, I want you to do not all the questions. But you can definitely do question 4, question 5 and question 10. Question 4, question 5 and question 10 from the textbook. So question 4 is the criterion used by the World Bank and its limitations. Question 5 are the criterion used by UNDP. And question 10, the earth has enough resources to meet the needs of all, but not to satisfy the greed of even one person. How is this statement relevant to the discussion of development? Discuss. These are 3 questions I would like you to attempt from your textbook in the notebook. Thank you. Have a nice day and meet you in my next class. Goodbye.